Leave your comments on the Ask Reddit sub, and I'll read your answers on the next episode of LWIAR 2. Would you watch a show where a billionaire CEO has to go an entire month on their lowest paid employee's salary, without access to any other resources than that of the employee? What do you think would happen? 3 months minimum and I'd watch it, thanks for the gold! Exclamation mark. And they can't choose February as one of their months. Although I'd like to see them have to have December so they have to deal with Christmas. Imagine the CEO of Walmart working for Walmart in the holiday season, November, December, January. With problem scenarios thrown in. Broken down car tube strike, dodgy boiler, sick child, the wheels would come off pretty quickly. Don't forget the pay rent or buy food dilemma scenario. Solved that 1 year ago. Just buy ramen noodles and eat 2 packs of that every day until you're caught back up on rent. EZPZ. Don't forget to chuck in a handful of frozen, tinned veg, an egg and a bit of soy sauce to convince yourself that it's a proper meal. And triple the cost. PFF, no. It's about efficiency. Cheeky, smiley face. Well, with a broken down car, the wheels have already come off. Let's also add in the housing loan bill being overdue, and now they're just a couple of days away from being dragged out of their homes. And they can't just call it quits. Failure means spending the rest of the 3 months on the streets. And after that, you've still got to show up to work and put on a happy face or get 3 different earfuls from your 3 different bosses. This comment reminds me that I only have like 6 more decades until I finally die. This comment reminded me of how excited I am for my natural retirement. There was this similar themed show in Hong Kong and mainland China years ago. They swapped billionaire with bottom feeders. Let the rich do the basic job, on the lowest salary, to see how far the rich could go by purely their own effort. Nearly all of the billionaire admitted that they could not make anywhere, regardless of how hard they worked. Even working without sleeping and resting could not give you any accumulation to help climb up to the higher level of the society. There was only despair, and admission that the divide between the poor and the rich is already a deep valley, and mere personal effort makes little sense. It stirred big debate among the society back then, and I think that was part of the reasons the show got cancelled. There was also another show in China, swapping senior political figures with community-level council workers, to see how good they could do in each other's posts. The mayors were flooded by the angry mobs who kept asking for more and more benefits that were impossible to fulfill. By the end, had to admit the amount of work at basic community level was too much to achieve anywhere. The show also got cancelled quite soon after a few episodes. He's the head of Amazon. Hi, I'm Jeff Bezos. She's a low-level greeter at Walmart. Have a great day. Put them together in the same apartment. Jeff, we're out of toilet paper. Go to Dollar General and grab some. How much can that cost? Like $10,000 a roll? Coming this season to ABC. Perfectly Unbalanced, starring Elon Musk as the next-door neighbor Elon. Jeff, have you ever wanted to go to space? Jeff, if I did, the ship would look like my dick, and laughter. Anyone remember The Simple Life with Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie? The show was supposed to be a let's watch these rich people work on a farm or minimum wage jobs, like serving fast food, and see how they like it. These spoiled brats would do a few minutes of work, whine about it, and then just screw around because they didn't give a crap about getting fired or not. All it did was give these spoiled rich people more attention that they didn't deserve. I wish they had done these shows in the US, say, 10 to 15 years ago. Entertainment media can get away with a little more here. An Undercover Boss was popular enough. I think the audience would be satisfactory to whichever network it landed on. It might have pushed things forward a little bit more. Or not. Maybe. What I didn't like about Undercover Boss was it ended in grand gestures for a few select employees. Instead of raising wages or improving employee retention, the boss would like buy a house for the single mother manager who lost her house in a tragic fire. Or like give a scholarship to that 19-year-old hard-working employee that attends school full-time. Also, Undercover Boss is pure freaking dystopian propaganda. Oh, yes, your lives suck, but one of you gets a small one-time lottery win by being the token poor person chosen to get some false, heartwarming bullcrap while there's no actual positive change for anyone. Doesn't that feel good, everyone? Your rich rulers learned a lesson about your miserable lives. Barf. What's the show, and are there ways to find it online? There was a similar show on British TV, Rich Kids Go Homeless. Here's a link, ch5 documentary. There was a UK show where celebs lived with benefit claimants for a week. Only a few episodes. One was Boris Johnson's sister. The journalist I remember, she criticised the woman for smoking bootleg cigarettes on £7 a week. What a waste of money. At the end she said there was no wonder she smoked. Life was so hard and miserable. And she'd smoke as well in that situation. People kept petitioning for the likes of Ian Duncan Smith to live on £70 and see how far he gets. Still think that's a pretty good idea for all MPs who affect policy. The show is called Keong Phu Weng Da Zao Zan in Cantonese. This YouTube playlist has all 3 seasons of the show in a single playlist. It is entirely in Cantonese without English subs though. Radio Television Hong Kong, RTHK, the producer of the series, revisited some of the people in the show and did a few follow-up episodes. You can find those here. Edit, for those looking for English subs. Another kind Redditor found a playlist for the version broadcasted in English and commented on their video itself. I'd frick up Bezos 1v1. His karate is no match. Do you mean this Jeff Bezos i.insider.com or this one compot.slate.com? My man Jack. He's here to pump iron and give his workers basic rights and dignity. And he's all out of basic rights and dignity. I love reality shows, so I'd watch it depending on who produces it. If it's too fake, with too many emotional moments, advertising and people shouting, I'm out. X Factor singer. I can't sing but my granny died an hour ago and told me to follow my dream. Hosts. You son of a B-word. I'm in. Quote. Here we have Elliot. Elliot is a Down syndrome paraplegic who got disfigured when his plane crashed on the way to his dream vacation. He spent the next 4 months in a medically induced coma while the doctors found a replacement for his dick that got torn off. Also, he can sing moderately good. Here he is, judges. Gimme that golden buzzer. I freaking hate that emotional moment. Bullcrap. Kitchen Nightmares and Bar Rescue used to be great, now I can't even watch them. Same with Undercover Boss. Have you ever watched the OG British Kitchen Nightmares? He goes in, teaches them how to improve their food, teaches them how to manage a business, then does a bit of advertising. He is a lot meaner to us than the Americans. Most important, the editing isn't the absolute most obnoxious thing imaginable. And tense music and chop cut swoosh noise chop cut. Don't go away because after commercials kitchen gets real. Danger. Explosion. Waiter throws something cooking. Never. More. Emotional. Woman crying Ramsey. Just can't. Shot of Ramsey walking out the door while calling someone a donkey, loud noise. Knives on screen. Fire in background. Car insurance commercial. Not to mention you get the highbrow, not so classy but oh so fancy British snark and sass, which is just jolly good fun all around. Ramsey is also a lot more emotive and easy to connect with in the British one as well because he isn't all in on the rage and insults like the American version. Right, because they had to make him relatable to us angry Americans. It frickin' pisses me off that they did that. It's more than just the money. It's the lack of security these people endure. Not knowing if you'll lose your job tomorrow and having no savings. Being kicked out of your home. An unexpected bill you can't afford, which may lead to increasing debt. Putting these rich people in a poor lifestyle for a month isn't enough. Even if they lost their money and their homes, they'll have such a huge network that they'll be back on their feet in the time it takes for us peons to earn enough to eat for a week. They can never truly understand what it's like to be poor or ever face that reality again. So what would happen? It'd be a completely self-serving advert about how, now I realize that we need to do more for our employees. The workers get a small vanity bonus. Probably give an immigrant worker with limited English a car. Pat themselves on the back. Then 2 weeks later, we've all forgotten about the show and they all go back to their old ways. You raise a really good point. The producers should fire the CEO halfway through the show and let them try to figure what the hell they should do. If you haven't seen it, I'd recommend The Act of Killing. It's a documentary following an elderly man who was once a member of a government-sanctioned anti-communist death squad in Indonesia. Now, the commies are defeated. He's celebrated in his own country. There's a scene where they had him do a mock-up of a torture execution method he had used. He asked production to hold because he found it traumatic. In a very raw moment, he asks the question, "Is this what my victims were feeling in their last moments?" The producer responds, "No, what your victims were feeling was much worse. Because you were able to ask us to stop. And they knew there was no escape." You can see in a couple of seconds it changes the guy's whole worldview. I would imagine a billionaire who has been rich for most or all of their adult life equally would have trouble conceiving of the dread of inescapable poverty. You forgot the depressing part where he is the only one to have any sort of realization like that. The other guys had no such realization. Or maybe they had one years ago and didn't care. They'd be fine. The problem with poverty is not usually day-to-day costs. People can adjust to that. It's unexpected expenses that are crippling. Edit. Why are people still responding 2 weeks later? Nobody is reading this thread anymore. At least not the responses at the bottom. Edit 2. Rant was too whiny. If you have something to say, who am I to say otherwise? It is a mix. Day to day you can realistically only spend 5 to 10 out of pocket that even a minimum wage worker can deal with, but prorate in the monthly costs. And it gets crazy. In my area a one-bedroom in a bad area is still $1,200 per month. Or about $40 a day. Transit for most people will be at least $5 and that is cost of mass transit to and from work. More if you drive, car, insurance, upkeep, gas. Not having a car is not always an option. On 40 hours at $10 an hour, you are bringing in about $1,200 a month. You lose some of that to taxes. But let's be nice and say you get it all. You already cannot afford a studio apartment, so you need a roommate. So you have to hopefully find someone sane, but that is not a given. So basically, on your own, on a full-time minimum wage job, you basically are eating garbage to just not be hungry. Living with 2 to 3 roommates with the same problems you have, and will have no ability to save enough to ever make a difference. $500 is huge savings over a whole year for you, and that is not life-changing at all. It would be incredibly self-serving and boring. They would never truly experience what it is like to be in the precarious position of a minimum wage employee living hand-to-mouth, and that novelty is just salt in the wound. It would be more interesting to see the reverse. Why not both? Or trading places, as we called it back in the 80s. What Rich House Poor House on YouTube. The UK already has a show exactly like this. I doubt a month is enough to really feel the effect. And the camera team changes everything. I won't trust doing business with a random nobody, but a guy in suit with a whole production team following him. That's a different story. That's why reality shows are intrinsically just shows. Nah, all they have to do is stick it out for a month and then they can say from personal experience that it isn't that bad. Of course, they never have to deal with the effects in the long term. It's kind of like when privileged college students pretend to be homeless by camping out in their quad for a night. And this is where the show throws a curveball. Instead of a month, it's actually 6 months, and they just pretended to make it a month so as to see the CEO's reaction to finding out it's actually 6, and his reaction would give us her real thoughts on the matter. Lots of rich people voluntarily go on vacation to third world countries. The catch is, they know they have a way out and an end date. I'd be interested to watch a show where the CEO had to personally be financially responsible for the welfare of 50% of their lowest paid employees for 10 years. And their net growth percentage equaled their bonus every year, with a big bonus if both the company and the employees were profitable at the end. Thanks for watching LWIAR 2. The best of all time r/AskReddit submissions and comments. If you like this video, check out the original LWIAR channel. And don't forget to like and subscribe.